Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com.
And Victoria Tedesco.
Welcome to the show. Post-Raw, what is this, 82 now?
Is it?
I think so.
Is it 82 or 83? I don't know. I don't remember.
It is 82.
82.
Yeah. So, what a Raw tonight. Oh, my goodness. That was...
You could say that again.
That was something.
It was something.
It really was something. Yeah, so... They had
But you should actually start off with the show by saying what you said right before we start our show.
What did I say? I don't even remember.
You go, can Becky Lynch announce that she's pregnant every night?
Yeah, I know. It's like really like so like there's got to be like almost no interest in listening to a review of this show because it was so boring, so bad. It's like, God, like, can Becky Lynch get pregnant every week so we can just keep having like, big shows and stuff like that? But no. This is the best that they can do. I mean, we've talked about it.
We talk about it all the time.
The promos in the empty performance center stink. They stink. And what did they do? They kicked off the show with not one promo, but two promos, a short match, another promo. It was just like, oh my God.
If you actually, wait, you should do this real quick. Go through quickly, like promo, match, like just go through. I want to see how many times you say promo. I'm just very curious.
You want me to go through the entire lineup?
Don't say matches in specifics. Just be like promo, segment, match, promo. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
I'm just curious how many times you say promo.
Promo.
Okay.
Short match. Promo. Short match. Promo. Short match, but promo preceding that. Let's see. Well, bad match. Or meh match, not really much. More promo stuff. Lame match with Natalya, as usual. Promo. Short match. Attack. Another match that was okay. Vignette. Heel turn.
Right.
Promo. Main event.
Okay, so there was 9 promos.
Yeah.
9 promos.
Way.
And what you said too is short match. So it was a lot what you said too.
That's all we had tonight were really short matches. Really short.
Okay, everyone. Good night. We have finished. We went promo, short match, promo.
Take care.
Have a good night.
No, I'm just kidding.
Everyone. No, kidding.
I put the video up, but no.
Yeah, no, we have to.
No, we got to do this. No, it's okay. But let's say hi to everybody before we bounce into
Raw,
this thing. We'll make it. We will make it. So tonight in our chat room, my dear, we have Goosey.
Hello, Goosey.
Our dear friend Goosey. We got Sweet Louis Veraldi.
Real quick, I have to say, okay, I've been calling Liliana Goosey lately. I don't know what it is. Like, I just been calling Liliana Goosey. Like, I'm just like, Goosey.
Yeah, she's been calling her Goosey lately. This is
not even thinking of Goosey, but I have been calling her Goosey lately.
This is true. She has absolutely been calling her Goosey.
So just hello.
Hello, Goosey. We got Sweet Louis Veraldi in the chat room. Mushoon Walls in the chat room.
Hello,
Good evening, Tedescos and peeps. Hello. Andrew Elder.
Hello, Andrew.
Our buddy in the chat room here. All right, Andrew Elder. He's
on our good list.
He's on our good list. Our number one fan, Quentin Walters, in the chat room tonight. Billy Hefner in the chat room.
Hi,
Uncle Billy. Uncle Billy's in the chat room. And we will. And if you're in the chat room, you haven't said hello yet, say hello. We will get to you. No Nafis tonight, but if Nafis is listening on DVR later on, Nafis, we miss you, man.
Hi,
Nafis. Anyway, we can make this a pretty not short.
I mean, listen, we can make any bad show a good post-Raw show.
I think so.
We've done that before.
Post-Raws usually wind up being pretty good.
And
the show is not so much.
People say that post-Raw is better than the actual show, so
it's not hard.
You
know why? Like, we're doing one continuous promo, but it's not scripted and a lot more fun.
Well, also too, people are like, some people don't watch the show, but they watch us, so it's kind of like,
this is true. Well, if you're watching us, please give us a like on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to us yet, please subscribe to us, and that would make us very happy as we march toward 1,000 subscribers. That would be great. Anyway, let me pull up the poll on Twitter real quick and just tell everybody what everybody thinks of the show.
I'm very curious.
52% thumbs down for this show tonight. 48% thumbs up. So it's a little back and forth.
Yeah, so it's very mixed. I'm actually
Well, you know why?
shocked.
Like, funny enough, the first 2 hours of the show were brutal. Now, last week they did a format change where they kind of front loaded the first hour because it makes sense because more people watch the first hour than any other hour, and like by the time the third hour rolls around, it just craters.
Of course.
So it's like that's when they were putting Drew McIntyre on. It just didn't make sense. It's like, this is the guy you want everybody to see, so put him on in the first hour.
Agreed.
And there'll be a ton of eyes on him.
Agreed.
But I think now they got tricked because of the Becky Lynch thing. Ratings last week stayed consistent all throughout. Really, it was like
I know.
It was a good rating last week. So they're like, oh, well, I guess we made the turnaround. Let's put Drew McIntyre back in the third hour, and so nobody can see him again. What do you think? You think Baron Corbin's enough to keep people watching the third hour?
No.
They should have kicked the show off with Drew McIntyre and King Corbin, saved Edge and Randy Orton for the main event spot again or whatever, just because there's a ton of star power there. People love Edge. People love Randy Orton.
Yeah, and they love their feud.
They would want to watch them.
And last week they got tricked too because it wasn't only obviously, yes, it was definitely Becky Lynch announcing her pregnancy, but it was what Seth Rollins' reaction going to be throughout the show.
Oh yeah.
So that was another thing too that kept people watching last week. What was he doing? Like, what was the Messiah going to do? How was he going to respond? Like, what kind of reactionary thing were you going to get out of him?
Absolutely.
So that's another reason why. But again, that at the root of it was because of Becky Lynch announcing that she's pregnant. So it was just a totally different dynamic. I hate to make the comparison, but it was like when Roman Reigns said about his leukemia.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he did it during a time that was like very kind of like low in the ratings and stuff like that too, as well. You know.
Oh, so he had no choice. Yeah.
He had no choice. But what I'm saying is like, you can't go by that Raw for its ratings either because we're talking about Roman Reigns and what's going on with him. So when you have a huge story like that going on, yeah, of course people are going to be interested. But on your every week Raw, no, not especially during a pandemic. So
I know when it's already like, you know, it's depressing enough still being home. Yeah, I know people are going out, but I mean, you see the. You see like this like trend of people like, well, it's warm out and I don't care anymore. I'm going out. Fuck it. And like all these states where it's like, oh, the rollout is going great. They're all lies. The numbers are just totally cooked.
I don't care about that, but not that I don't care about that. That's not what I'm saying.
But anyway, like what I'm trying to say is like, it's a bummer being at home, and it's like, well, you know, for those that are still staying home or still in, I mean, there's not a lot of open around us, that's for sure.
No, there's a heavy lockdown here, but
yeah, like, do you really want to like watch like a show that's just completely dull with a bunch of energyless promos?
Right. And again, there was something that was major last week, and they thought like you said, they thought, oh yeah, we got them back. It's like, no, you had them back for a week because of a huge announcement.
I know, it's kind of scary.
You can't have a huge announcement every week.
Last week I incorrectly said that they taped Raw, both episodes of Raw all in one day. Now they taped Raw and SmackDown on Monday, and then on Tuesday they taped this week's Raw and SmackDown on that day.
Oh, okay.
So Just want to put that out there. So there's definitely a chance that they had already seen the ratings that came out for last week's episode of Raw by the time they taped this episode of Raw, and maybe got tricked.
True.
Anyway, tons of promos. It's such good shit.
Oh my god, I forgot he still was here.
I know. So I love this puppet. It's the only part of Vince that I still like. Anyway.
Poor Vince.
I know. All right, let's talk about this show. Actually, it did kick off really nicely with a good promo from Randy Orton and Edge. Even though I cannot wrap my damn head around it. What the hell is with the greatest match of all time thing?
I know.
I've seen Edge and Randy Orton have matches for actually, and in fact, that match Edge brought up tonight at Vengeance 2004, I remember watching that pay-per-view. I remember sitting on John Serpico's couch while I had a friend, John. I still have a friend. He's still my friend, John Serpico. I love John. We would watch the pay-per-views every month. I'd be over at his house, and he was great. He was like, you just bring a bag of chips. You don't have to put money towards it or anything. He'd order all the pay-per-views. He had every single pay-per-view taped on VHS, piled up in his room. From like the early 90s on. He was a super, super fan. I remember clearly watching Vengeance 2004 at his house and watching Edge and Randy Orton have that match, and I was like, wow, that was a phenomenal match. That was excellent. Excellent. That was at the time when Shelton Benjamin was red hot too, and Shelton Benjamin actually had a pretty good match too at some point as well. But man, I remember that clearly, and they just put it up on YouTube this week. I haven't watched it yet because sometimes like I don't like rewatching things that I thought were really great because then because when I saw it, I wasn't doing this.
Well, your big thing has always been like especially when you attend a show, you don't like to watch it.
I never watch any shows that I attend.
You don't want
hardly
because
ever.
You want to have that feeling always. You don't want to remember the pay-per-view in television form.
Well, yeah, because if I watch it, then all of a sudden like those images in my head get replaced by like the television angles and this and that. And
exactly.
And I'd rather just keep what I saw in my mind's eye, there forever.
Of course.
So I never watch shows that I attend. But sometimes it's really hard to like go back and watch like something that I really liked that I didn't have access to before the network and watch it now. I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I love going on here and talking about Raw and stuff like that. But it's kind of ruined me a little bit because now I don't watch things as just like from a fan's sense. It's really hard for me to do that. Now I watch things from an analytical point of view, and like even like doing the retro recaps. I really enjoy doing those retro recaps. I just had WrestleMania 14 come out last week, and I'm working on WrestleMania 15 now. But obviously I've seen all the WrestleManias, but I've never really like analyzed them before. It's kind of it's kind of depressing that like some of my favorite memories aren't all as great as I remember them.
No, I know. I think, well, again, you're in a very tough spot with recapping the shows. It's not even like you just do this. You know what I mean? Like you're doing it all. So it's very, very hard between the news, this show, and Wrestleview news, and recapping. It's tough.
No doubt, but it's fun. At the same time, it is fun. But speaking of news, a lot of sad news coming out about Shad Gaspard today. Our thoughts and prayers are definitely with his family. That is such a sad story.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, I know. It's a big deal.
It was all over. Like right after Wrestleview posted it, it just went like I found it everywhere. After that, it was crazy. It's
a shame. It's a real shame. He's a great guy, Shad Gaspard. Broke up an armed robbery in 2016. The guy is completely selfless. He's in the ocean, gets pulled out with a group of people in a riptide. Lifeguards come out. He tells them to take his 10-year-old son first. So I mean, like, it's like when I read that story and I had to report it, I was like, oh man, this is like so sad. But like, what the ultimate sacrifice? Because after he said that, allegedly a big wave came and crashed on him, and he did submerge, and they haven't found him yet. But wow, it's like before having a kid, I was always like, oh, I can't imagine wanting to, put my life on the line for anybody like that. But now it's like if having a kid, like totally, like I totally get it. I would do the same thing if it was like me, and if it was me or Liliana, I'm choosing Liliana. It's that's like a crazy thing. But like when you're actually in that moment, God forbid you ever find yourself in a moment like that. He was a real man about it. He was a real man, and I part of me hopes upon hope that they find him somewhere on like a rock ledge, somewhere alive. But it's not looking good. It's definitely not looking good. Really, really sad situation. Anyway, let's talk about this Raw here. So yeah, they keep going on and on about this greatest match of all time thing. And like I saw their match in 2004, which was excellent. It's one of my favorite matches. I'm not going to lie. It certainly is, but best match in the history of wrestling? Come on. Like why do they do these
I
stupid
think
things?
it's a really bad marketing tool. It's really
It's
bad
just-
advertisement.
Well-
It genuinely is. I really think it's silly.
Well, think about what they did with we talked about it last week, kind of with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura going into WrestleMania 34, where it's like, this is a dream match, this is a match everybody's been dying to see, it's gonna be so great, and it's like they did that for like 2 months because honestly, like the Royal Rumble kind of jumped shark because it's like it's so hard to maintain that momentum. Although they did a great job of it this year with Drew McIntyre,
They absolutely
maintaining
did.
the momentum.
100%.
But by the time it got to WrestleMania 34, they had a very good match. It wasn't like by that point you're like thinking it's going to be like, angels are going to come down from heaven and be the referee. It's going to be the best match ever. It's going to be incredible. Lou Thez is going to come back in spiritual form.
But it's
like you're putting all these unrealistic expectations on it, and then you're watching it thinking like this is good. This better be good. And as soon as it doesn't live up to like one little thought in your mind, it stinks. It's not that good. I saw a lot of people say in the aftermath of Styles and Nakamura, that stunk. That was boring. That was lame. Blah 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 blah. It's why are they doing this?
The mind is a very powerful thing, and what I have a really hard time with this particular feud is if feud sells itself. I mean, there's so much behind it. Between Edge's return and Randy Orton, with their chemistry, it's like you didn't need to promote it any other way and have the feud continue as saying the best match of all time. Like you don't need that at all. So I'm very confused as to why they do keep tagging that phrase along with this feud because it's completely unnecessary.
Right.
I just find like okay. And what did you say? You agree with me on that though? That the fact that the feud itself is a selling point between Edge's return and Randy and their chemistry.
Absolutely.
So why
doesn't need this?
Why tagline it? Why put that pressure on it? You know what I mean? And what's oddly enough, what I find interesting about the feud in general, and I said this to you while I was watching it tonight, I really actually enjoyed their interaction tonight, but more so than last week, because last week Edge looked like really weird when he just stopped talking and was so stunned by Randy Orton.
Yeah, that was dumb.
This week was much, much better, and I found it to be effective. Believe it or not, even though there was no crowd, it had that eeriness to it that I enjoyed because it was a serious conversation. And normally when you obviously do have serious conversations like that, there is this sense of quiet and and
sure
what going on and whatever. So to me it was good. It actually worked, and I really didn't focus on the fact that there's no crowd, and that the fact also too that they're opening up another show with a promo. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I wasn't so much, but when I heard before, again, they talk about the greatest match of all time, and then afterwards again, I'm like, why do they keep doing that? It really does not need all that in itself. Edge's return alone is just to me, this is so amazing for him.
Yeah.
So it's unnecessary. And again, no matter, like you said before, it's going to take just one thing for them to do wrong during that match where people are like, oh, this is stupid. This is
right.
one of the worst matches ever, or whatever.
Right.
Because you're just so in tune to thinking. And again, it's a good marketing tool for maybe other matches, not something like this.
Yeah, like if they go out and have a good match, people are going to say, well, it wasn't the greatest match of all time.
Can't say stuff like that.
You're totally right. This feud didn't need that tagline. It didn't need it at all.
It did not need it.
It was doing just fine on its own. So it's dumb. I don't get it. I don't understand why they do these things.
I feel like this was somebody who doesn't know wrestling and was hired and was just like, oh, let's just say this.
Yeah. that is almost exactly what it feels like. It's like, oh,
I've seen wrestling before.
We've never called anything the greatest of all time, so let's just call it that.
Let's just do that.
But you know what? On the flip side, playing devil's advocate here.
Okay.
A tagline like that, honestly, truly kills a crowd. It really does. Because it's they sit back and watch, and they're just waiting to be stunned. The crowds will sit on their hands if you tell them this is going to be an unbelievable match. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
There's no crowd to kill this time. There's not going to be a crowd in
True.
at the Performance Center for Backlash. So maybe they'll do a cinematic match and just CGI them jumping off of things or whatever.
Edge is just like going off the Empire State Building.
Yeah, and just surviving. Like they're gonna actually jump off the roof again of the headquarters and live, and like they're gonna avoid the secondary roof.
Actually, and then Randy Orton gets buried somehow just randomly, and he walks out. I'm fine, like AJ Styles.
Yeah. Don't forget, somebody has to die on this pay-per-view to keep the trend running.
Exactly.
Three in a row of people dying just on the show.
Murder. Yeah, murder. I don't know.
I mean, seriously, like when they had Aleister Black, having his match with Murphy tonight, and frickin' Byron Saxton's like, yeah, he had what a week he had last week. He got thrown off the roof of the headquarters. Thankfully, that second roof was there to break his fall. It's like, yeah, otherwise he'd be dead. Like I know, I went on a whole thing defending that last week, but it's like, okay, like stop beating us over the head with the stupidity of that. It's so absurd and asinine.
I wonder who's
that was my thing last night. Absurd and asinine.
It was. That was the hashtag that we created for last week. Who's going to die this pay-per-view? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. It very well could be Randy Orton.
It could be Edge.
No, they're gonna have straight up wrestling match, and I don't know. But I mean, there's still a lot they can do. Maybe they'll do Shayna Baszler versus Natalia in a loser dies match or something like that, since they already beat the submission match down. So there's something there. Death, it's such good shit.
I forgot again that he existed. What's going on here? Hi, Vince. Get out of here.
Whoa. Okay, anyway.
That's stunning.
So anyway, the Randy Orton Edge promo was actually pretty good. I mean, it was kind of stupid that Edge's explanation for not saying anything last week was like, well, it's like playing chess. I have to, not tip my hand as to what I wanted to do, which is like, oh, that's stupid. Like,
well, no, I mean, it was.
But essentially what I'm saying is they could have just had him accept last week. Instead, they dragged it out a week. Agreed. He accepted. So
right.
They're having a straight up wrestling match at Backlash, whatever that freaking show is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what show is it even?
I don't even know.
Is it Backlash? Anymore. I don't know.
So June 14th, the greatest wrestling match of all time happens. Enjoy. We just got to get through Memorial Day weekend, and we can see it. All right. So there's that. They accept. We move on. Good promo, but without a crowd, there's no energy there. It's like, again, I wouldn't open up a show with a promo. Let alone a second promo immediately following that.
There's 9 promos tonight.
It's just, well, Andrew Elder said in the chat room, he goes, they decided last week, this is when we're going to do tons and tons of promos. Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly. No, he's right. Last week was all the action. This week was all the promos. What will next week be? Maybe a mix, maybe not.
I hope next week's just all straight action, just tons and tons of action. So Seth Rollins and Murphy come out to the ring. Rollins had a revelation. He just says, to Rey Mysterio, "You're welcome. You didn't accept me as the Messiah, and you paid for it, or whatever." I really, honestly, the promo just kind of just looped, and it was so boring. And it's like, so bottom line is Seth Rollins picks up a new disciple tonight in Austin Theory, and we'll talk about that more later on.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think it was Samoa Joe, he just goes, "Well, this is the problem. His words are so infectious." It's like I can't imagine. I mean, if you're motivated by Seth Rollins' words, you were motivated by your high school principal. Like, really, you have. There's not. It doesn't take much for you to get all pumped up.
Oh.
I'm not talking about my principal. My principal's great. But,
no, we love him.
Our high school principal, she ain't motivating anybody. Not a soul.
What do you mean?
BL.
Oh no, I'm not.
I'm talking about our high school.
I know. I'm talking about the one we work in.
I know, and I'm talking about the one I work in. I said I love my principal. I'm talking when we were actually in high school.
Oh, I know that.
Then why are you looking confused?
I'm not looking confused. I just have a confused face.
Yeah, you do. You do. It's really annoying.
No. I know. No. I'm actually more just stunned that you said that. Like that comparison. That was pretty good.
What, a Barbara Longo?
No, I mean, wait.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how I popped up with that. Anyway. God, you're really throwing me off now.
No, I know what you mean. Again,
he did talk in the promo about I saw the light. Last week I was in a really dark place, a place that was so dark I never thought I'd escape. but without darkness, there can be no light, and I've seen the light and it's brighter than before, and that's all thanks to Rey Mysterio. So I'm thinking, okay, well, now Rollins is seeing the light, and then he gave darkness to Rey Mysterio. I'm still thinking, I mean, if there was ever a time to do it, it would be now in the time of pandemic.
Match, yeah.
We got to do the blindfold match. I'd love to see that.
Again, if this happens, though, I have to credit it to this show.
Me too. Jake Roberts, Rick Martel lives on. That is still one of my favorite WrestleMania matches. It's probably one of the best matches on WrestleMania 7. Everybody talks about that Warrior Savage match, and that was not that good at all. I mean, from an emotional standpoint, it was good. But like in terms of like being such a great match, it was anything but. Jake Roberts and Rick Martel was way better.
That was your
way
favorite,
better, just from crowd psychology, you know, in terms of like not being a match as much as like a spectacle. It was great.
I really hope that you were right, honestly, with the blindfold match.
Me too.
Something so cool to see, and I have to say, you know, with the promo tonight, I do have to agree with you, and I'm usually the one defending Seth Rollins.
I know.
So
maybe it's true. His words are infectious.
No, but there's like that tagline. Like, why are you saying it's infectious? Like, I don't think it's infectious. Like, I mean, you could say something's good. Infectious, though?
Yeah, and especially like in this time now where
Yeah.
infection.
I don't know.
Leave it be.
I found that to be a little weird overall. But I don't know. I think with this promo, I think it would have done better if it wasn't after another promo. Like,
yeah, I know. Like put it at the 9 o'clock hour or something like that. Just give us some distance between promos. I just don't understand like going back to back on the promos. It's like WWE, please don't do that ever again.
Yeah, and
please.
again, they have that flexibility. So
of course they do. They taped it last week. They could have arranged it in any freaking way they wanted.
Right. That's what's bizarre. That, and again, that's kind of the weird thing about it is just, you know, if they watch back at the show, like they could be like, you know what, I really actually didn't like that there or whatever. So
right, exactly.
I really don't.
And then they had poor Humberto Carrillo come out trying to cut a promo when English is definitely not his first language.
Poor thing.
And it's just like, why? Can we just give up on the Humberto Carrillo experiment now? I mean, they beat him again this week. So he has a very short match that we joined in progress with Murphy, which again, and this made no freaking sense at all.
Oh, yes. Like, but you said this tonight. I very, very much agree with you. So go ahead.
So it's like we had a boring, we had a promo to kick off the show, a boring promo from Seth Rollins. And then he has Murphy wrestle Humberto Carrillo. And Murphy is already facing Aleister Black later in the night. So it's like, hold on. So now Murphy's going to be at a disadvantage going into a match against Aleister Black? Like, hold on. He's the heel. The faces are the ones who are supposed to be at the disadvantage, not the heel. Like, the whole entire dynamics of, like, I'm sorry, they want to reinvent wrestling or just change wrestling as we know it for good. But, like, sometimes, like, you know, storytelling is just is just storytelling. You know, you have to... Like, the heels have to be the ones that try to sink low and get the advantage. It's not supposed to be the good guys. The good guys are supposed to persevere and fight back.
Agreed.
And it just makes no sense for Murphy to have had this match tonight.
I didn't think about that until you mentioned it, honestly.
And then for him just to crush Humberto Carrillo like he was nothing. It's like, are we done with Humberto Carrillo now?
I know.
I mean,
I really feel bad for.
I mean, it could have been Akira Tozawa. So I mean, I have to say at least they didn't do that.
Right. I don't know. The whole thing, it actually genuinely upsets me when they
Nafis popped in. Nafis! Woohoo! I knew he was going to catch us on DVR tomorrow.
Hey! What bothers me is the fact that somebody like Carrillo, I like him. I do. I think he's a good talent. But they don't utilize people the right way. I just feel like he's another prime example. Okay, like how many times were they pushing like the whole Ricochet thing, right? They were pushing and pushing and pushing, and then eventually it's just like slow on the brakes with that because obviously, you know, they don't know what to do with this character, right? And I think with Carrillo, with him not being really teamed up with anybody, it kind of becomes like just stale, you know? And
It's like how is anybody supposed to get behind him? The only matches, the only matches he won in that gauntlet match was like a total slip on banana peel wins. That's all he was getting.
Yeah,
and everything else is just like every single match that they put him in. They had him face Andrade for the U.S. title a bunch of times. He loses every single freaking time. It's like at some point we just have to, cut bait here.
Well,
You're not going to get anybody over with a losing streak. You're just not. Or even
not
worse,
somebody that much talent either.
Like he's talented, but I mean, he's not connecting. It's not his fault that he's not connecting. They don't give him anything to connect with. But it's like, okay, like just either push him or get him off TV, because right now all they're doing is just irreparable damage to him.
Agreed.
And it's like, oh well, if we take him off of TV for a month and bring him back and give him a bunch of wins, that'll turn it around. It's like, no, sorry.
Takes a little bit more than that at this point.
As much as they want to change wrestling, the one thing that truly has changed is wrestling fans, and they're not the same fans that are like so forgiving in the 90s where you take a guy off and then have him come back and he's Superman. It's like, no, it's not gonna work anymore.
I just, like I said, with the amount of, I think he's really, really talented, and what bothers me is that he's not like somebody who like a Kurt Hawkins, right, who was just like losing and then like it was funny. Like he's not supposed to. I don't consider like Roberto Carrillo as somebody who's like a comedic, like, you know what I mean? He obviously has
definitely not
a lot of potential. So don't treat it like this. Oh, isn't it amazing that he's been losing every week? It's like, no, it's actually not cool at all.
Right.
So
yeah, like that's dumb.
Really, really foolish. Again, foolish.
That's Victoria. Hashtag foolish from Victoria. All right, moving on. Liv. Oh
boy.
This Liv Morgan promo. What the?
Okay, and if you don't watch Total Divas, you weren't going to know this part. I'm just sorry you weren't. She talked a lot about her family not being like she didn't have a lot growing up, and her mom worked very, very hard and everything. I find with her character, if you can even call it that, they're so like ping-ponging back and forth between ideas. It's like, oh, let's we tried a lesbian storyline that didn't work out because we got backlash from the fans. Then we tried the whole like going with the Riot Squad, with Ruby Riott and everything. That didn't really work out either, right? Rusev obviously is gone. That whole thing, blah 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 blah. And you have this whole like dominatrix look to her, like not really working, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Now you're trying to get like her sob story about her I'm not saying that she didn't go through struggles with, obviously her family not having a lot. I'm not saying that at all. And obviously anybody who's a mom and raises your kid like that, single mother, kudos to you. But it's like, nobody knows that unless you watch Total Divas. Like it was just, I feel like they just are finding random stuff to connect with the crowds with, and it's like they're not doing it. But she's going within the past few months. She's went from here to here to here to here to here. It's like, what is Liv Morgan? Right. What is she?
Right. Well, she did her promo. It was like, I don't know who I am. Yeah. La, la, la. It's like, yeah, of course you don't know who you are. They don't even know who you are. It's like at this point, it's like, they have botched her so badly. So it's like they took her off of TV and this is why taking people off TV won't work, because they can't even do that right. No. So they took her off. She was gone from like July, and then they started doing promos of her coming back, I think in November, and she finally came back on that last Raw in 2019. And they had something for her. They're going to do something where she was with Lana, and then like, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose legitimately got mad because that was their idea, and at least Sonya Deville is an actual member of the LGBTQ plus community. Mm-hmm. So it's like that would have been great to like at least have that storyline going, because she could be a WWE's community outreach on an even bigger way.
She's very big actress.
Instead of like having like, oh well, two hot blondes, let's make them lesbians. It's like that's not what people. That's not read the room. Read the room, Vince. That's not what people are looking for anymore.
Again, fans have changed,
and not only have fans have changed, society's changed. That's exactly. It's not appropriate anymore to do that.
It was very
it's stupid.
It was stupid, and it was very offensive.
So they dropped that. And then it's like,
now it's ping pong.
Now she's she's fighting Ruby Riott, and they had a feud for absolutely no reason.
Riot Squad.
Some Riot Squad callback that we're supposed to care about because they were in the Riot Squad. Who cares? That's not what we're looking for either. Now she has her hair back to like, kind of like that silvery color that she had in the Riot Squad. She had her old makeup on, and then she's talking about her mom and like, oh, that's like my mom. I'm going to persevere. I lost to Charlotte Flair, but I'm never going to give up. I'm going to be Raw Women's Champion. Well, it's like, yeah, well, if you beat Charlotte Flair, you're not going to be Raw Women's Champion. She's the NXT Women's Champion. This whole thing sucked.
That was hilarious.
And I swear, if they're going to go with like, oh, my mom never gave up, now I'm never going to give up, it's like, fuck it. I give up on Liv Morgan. I'm done. I'm done with that. They're making her so vanilla, so lame. It's like, just move on from that shit.
Again, it really,
Charlotte Flair came out and cut a promo for absolutely no reason after that. And then she's talking about Bayley, like who cares? And then she says, "Oh, Ruby Riott has something to say about me, so why don't you come out here and say it?" And then Ruby Riott never even said anything. What the hell's going on here?
With Liv Morgan, I think for the year of 2019, 2020, I would say she has the biggest botch.
Oh yeah,
character.
Yeah, well, the biggest dropping of the ball here for sure.
And
I'm not saying that she would be a game changer or needle mover, but they could have done a little better than this.
I mean, they could have
all that time off of TV, and their best idea was no idea at all.
I feel like they forgot.
What are they doing? How do you have?
Like they forgot she was returning,
right?
And they were like,
how do you have 20 writers and that's the best that you come up with?
And
doesn't make sense.
Like, wasn't she like doing bubble baths too? Like initially,
yeah, she was coming back as like, oh, she's a sexy lady coming back, sexy.
Yeah, like that's not like. Again, that's not what the society wants to see anymore. Like,
well, I mean, you can't say nobody wants to see that, but I mean, like, it wasn't. But that at least wasn't teased as her coming back as like a lesbian too. It was just like, oh well, Liv Morgan, the reinvented or made over. Or, what was it?
It was like
the makeover of Liv Morgan, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And it was just like, oh well, she's gonna come back as like like a fashionista or whatever. She's gonna come back as the Friday fashionista. Like, who cares? Like that'll never trend. That's never gonna get over. Nobody would ever want to watch a Friday fashionista or a Monday night fashionista or any type of fashionista. In fact, you could just move right out with that fucking gimmick. Nobody wants to see that. It's stupid. And they have no ideas for her. That's my point. Generally speaking, they got nothing. They got nothing. Absolutely nothing here. Anyway, Charlotte Flair had a bad match, had a nothing match with Ruby Riott. The most impactful thing that happened with that match is Charlotte Flair is really good at selling, and I loved how she was selling her hand. That's what I got out of that. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah, I really honestly like Charlotte Flair. Love her. Didn't love this match with Ruby Riott.
I don't think. Yeah,
generally speaking, I don't know.
Generally speaking, I really hated it. That's JEN. I'm talking. Anyway, moving on. I didn't get it at all, and I am so not interested in seeing Charlotte Flair face Bayley. I'll tell you that.
Oh gosh.
It's official. The greatest match of wrestling history is going to take place at Backlash. Edge versus Randy Orton. Woohoo!
Oh, you just got the news?
No, that was that was next. They announced it was official.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Street Profits are walking in a field when they come across a Viking camp that was literally out in the open field.
No social distancing.
They walked right up to it, and they're like, "Oh my god, a camp!" And it was like right in front of them. It was like, I hate when they do stuff like that. But there's no social distancing going on at that camp whatsoever. They're gonna have an axe throwing contest this week. Bad segments abounding. Although I do love the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, and actually it was kind of fun, but it was just like drawn out, and it was just like, okay, it's getting kind of.
I liked it a lot.
I like the last two.
See,
but the whole setup, I was like, come on, just get to the damn point already.
See, believe it or not, like that was my favorite part of the whole night was those segments.
Yeah. Well,
I loved it. I really did. Even the first one. I got to be honest with you.
It was funny stuff. I mean, I didn't hate it. I'll say that I didn't hate it. But it was just like at some point I was like, just get to the point, please. although Montez Ford when the Viking Raiders were sinking those bullseyes with the axes, and he takes down his glasses and he's like, they are so funny together. They are just a great team. I dread the day when they eventually break them up, because it's almost like any tag team that comes in, it's got to be broken up at some point. Yeah. Hardly anybody ever stays a tag team forever. Even the Dudley Boys got broken up by WWE at some point.
Yeah.
Devon Dudley just retired, by the way. So
it's like, do they have to break up, or could they just like, hey, we're gonna do our own thing a little bit, but I'll see you in a couple months, like. Why can't it be mutual? Why is it gotta
Yeah,
be
I know.
like this epic like?
Yeah, very rarely does a tag team ever mutually dissolve.
Like just be like, hey, you know what? I just want to try my own thing for a little bit, but.
Like Edge and Christian had to have like a boring feud in 2001 in the middle of the invasion angle. That needed to happen. It wasn't even any good. In fact, I think all it wound up with was Christian piercing his scrotum or something like that. I think there was like some terrible injury that happened. There. Yeah, you heard me right. Kairi Sane in the ring. They are going to celebrate Asuka, the new Raw Women's Champion. Asuka comes out and she's just shouting in Japanese, saying "Arigato." Thanking Kairi Sane for the flowers, thanking the fans, saying she's happy for Becky Lynch. Kairi Sane is crying, mentions that Asuka is now a Grand Slam champion, so that's WWE's second Grand Slam champion after Bayley. So that would be Grand Slam champion for women is NXT Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion, Raw Women's Champion, the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship.
Yes.
So Asuka is on top of the world right now.
Good for Asuka.
And she is great. Nia Jax comes out, says there's nothing to celebrate. Asuka was handed the Raw Women's Championship by Becky Lynch because she couldn't fight anymore. So Lynch is on maternity leave, so Asuka lucked into the greatest temp job ever.
I have a few things to say about
I'm going to say the same thing. I'm sure I know what you're going to say. Please say it.
Okay. She did win that contract. She did win Money in the Bank.
Right.
It didn't float out of thin air. It wasn't like Asuka didn't have a match and all of a sudden Becky Lynch was like, oh, here's the title. Have fun with it. Right. She actually had to win something. So even though she didn't directly face the champion, she still won. So the fact that Nia Jax was talking about how you didn't do anything to win this, like blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, no, she actually did.
Right.
And she had to go to the roof of the corporate building to go on a ladder and get the briefcase. So she did do something to win the championship.
Right. And Nia Jax is also in that match. So if Nia Jax won, but she's a heel. Heels are supposed to not make any sense. But anyway. Although I do have to say, like, how advantageous for Becky Lynch that a Raw superstar won that briefcase and the Raw Women's Championship didn't wind up on SmackDown. How lucky was that?
Oh, it's so lucky. But, okay. So, but again, she was very contradictory because this is what you were going to say. The fact that she said you didn't do anything to win it, but she's like, if I had won, I would have been the champion.
Yeah.
So what are you saying then? So like
you wouldn't have deserved it if you won. That's
and then you wouldn't have accepted it.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to say. It's an oddball thing.
And
to say,
the fact that they said that she didn't do anything to get it, I'm like, no,
yeah,
she did though, because she won the briefcase, so she did do something. It's not like she was just sitting at home and being like,
yeah. And
Becky Lynch is like, you know what? I feel like Asuka deserves the championship.
Yeah. And Andrew Elder kind of makes a good point here. He goes, and the Kabuki Warriors are faces. Nia, who was originally an anti-bully, because that was her whole entire crux of her gimmick against, the feud against Alexa Bliss. She's the anti-bully, is now the bully. Go figure. Oh, wait, that's some good shit, according to Vince.
Vince.
That's the Vince callback.
What do you think?
What do you think, Vince? Is Nia Jax going from the anti-bully to being a bully good shit? Oh.
All right, ew.
It's such good shit.
Ew.
It's like, wow, okay,
That was really gross.
That's something. It's really something. Anyway. Moving on. Oh, anyway, so Asuka attacks her and actually knocks Nia Jax out of the ring and gets the better of her. I kind of like that because usually it's like Nia Jax is kicking everybody's ass.
Me too.
Pretty good stuff. R-Truth is in the ring talking about his cousin Pretty Ricky and how he's coming for Tom Brady, which is really Rob Gronkowski. That's who he's talking about. Bobby Lashley. Oh, so before this, it was set up. Bobby Lashley was backstage warming up when MVP walks up to him and says, you looked really good with the full Nelson. I wonder what would ever happen if you put the full Nelson on the WWE champion, but we'll never find out because you're too busy dealing with clowns like R-Truth and your wife, Lana. So they kind of set this up. So Lashley was really aggressive in this match, gets the submission with the full Nelson. I like it. I really like where they're going with Bobby Lashley here. MVP comes out and claps for him later on. Lana, for whatever reason, sees what's happening and starts to scream and throw shit backstage.
What do you think is going to happen with that? Do you think when they eventually phase her out that they're just going to release her as well?
I don't know.
Or do you
She signed a long-term deal with them, so
maybe
although everybody who signed a long-term deal was on that release list,
right.
You know, Gallows and Anderson signed for 5 years.
I
Bye. Less than a year into that 5-year deal.
I don't like to get into people's personal stuff because, you know, obviously we really don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but like it has to be affecting their marriage.
Right.
It really does.
Of course, this damn phone rings. Anyway,
Something okay?
Oh yes, it's fine. I know what it's about. Anyway, so don't be alarmed. It was my phone, not yours. Andrew Elder says he really hopes that R-Truth actually tries to pin Tom Brady on the sidelines at some NFL
that'd be hilarious.
game. That would actually be amazing.
That would be so funny.
Then Gronkowski sacks him.
That could be like a good little like when football comes back. Like
yeah, that might be. I might actually watch a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game at some point. So, women's tag team championship match: Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Iconics. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross win after Peyton Royce loses her cool, and gets disqualified. So this was a quick match, not a lot of time for Billie Kay to screw anything up, or even Peyton Royce.
Yeah.
But even in small doses, the Iconics show that they're just not very good wrestlers. Although it was hard hitting, I will say that, you know, it was aggressive. They stayed aggressive after the match. Billie Kay slaps Peyton Royce in the face, and then they embrace and they're crying. And I mean, if you break up the Iconics, there's really, honestly, these two are so bad individually. They almost need to be a tag team to kind of cover for each other and get each other out of the ring. Breaking up the Iconics would be doom for their career, because
I don't think they're strong enough at all.
They're not strong enough at all. They will be main eventing the main event in no time, and you'll never see them again until they eventually get released. I mean, that would be devastating for their careers if they were broken up. This is one team that we were just talking about before. They need each other. Solely because neither of them can work individually on their own. And if you just have them in small doses, it can kind of work. But separated, it would be a disaster for them. They would. Absolute disaster.
See, what I've always liked about the Iconics was their kind of like attitudes. You know what I mean? But definitely not for like long-term matches or anything like that. Like I like them in like you said, small doses, but
very small doses.
Yeah, because I like they're funny, like they're cute together, like they have cute little banter and stuff like that. But and I just love the accents. I think they're hilarious in that respect. But yeah, like they shouldn't be doing anything long-term ever. You know?
No matches that go forever. Looks like our baby's up, banging her head into the thing. So I will take over the recap from here for a little while. Victoria will go deal with little Angel Liliana. So I'm going to blow through this thing. No time flat. Oh, and Victoria's going to miss the submission match with Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Shayna Baszler and Natalya in a submission match. Not much of a match here. Shayna kind of dominates her for a little while, says, you know, like, all your twisting and, you know, flipping crap isn't going to work on me. You know, I'm the real deal. She puts her in the Kirifuda clutch, and Natalya taps out. The one thing Natalya, like, I want to pose this question to the chat room. Like, does anybody out there really believe that Natalya is as good as they've promoted her as being? Like, oh, Natalya is such a great wrestler. She's so good. She's a Hart. How could she not be good? She's a member of the Hart family. I've never, ever seen it. Never. To me, a good wrestler can have a good match with anybody. I'm kind of like, I'm not even really talking about this match anymore, because it's like, it was what it was. It was actually an okay match. But like for years, I've seen Natalya try to do technical stuff with women that cannot wrestle whatsoever, and she winds up looking bad because she's doing all this technical stuff, and the women aren't really following along because their skill level's not there. She was trying to do too much at some points, but in terms of like being a wrestler, it's more than just the matches. It's the character, and she's never had a character at any point. I still don't know what Natalya's purpose is, other than just like, well, she's the old lady on the roster and the one that keeps it all together and the one that all the women look up to. It's like, okay, great, that's a gimmick. Okay, cool. But I mean, like the trash talking during the match. Oh God, it's like, yeah, bitch. Take that. Yeah, I'm gonna grind you into the ground, Shayna, bitch. It's like, enough. I am so checked out on Natalya. I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks. Andrew Elder. Nope. I remember farting Natty. That might be some of the best stuff she's ever done. That was like the one time like a Vince McMahon fart thing really kind of worked. I'll never forget recapping that SmackDown where they broke all that stuff out. Oh my God, I was crying. I was it was her and Beth Phoenix backstage doing the free squatting, and Natalya all of a sudden farts, and God, it was so funny. Like Beth Phoenix's face. Oh my, that was great. Of course, the big payoff was horrible. Natalya just walked up to Eve Torres after WrestleMania 28 when she turned on Zack Ryder and was like, "I can't believe you did that to Zack Ryder," and Eve Torres was like, "Yeah, well, you stink," or something like that, or "Yeah, well, Zack stinks," or whatever. And then Natalya farts and she turns around and she goes, "No, Eve, that stinks." It's like, oh my God, so bad. Another mark of a good wrestler is you got to know when to say no to certain things. Even though it was funny, it's like that's what she's known for. Quentin Walters, Natty is just plain boring. Billy Hefner, no. Justin Pass, 111. I don't know if we've ever had Justin in the chat room before. Justin, welcome to the show. She has no charisma, according to Justin. Yes, I agree. Machine Walls, Natty have a new temper tantrum gimmick. Yes, that's the next thing I want to talk about. Quentin Walters, ZZZZ, sleeping already.
I was hoping I was going to miss this part.
No, you didn't miss it. You didn't miss it. Okay, so now we got to pull your camera back up because you're sitting up straight.
Wait.
Oh no, you got to slouch. Yeah, there you go.
Slouch.
There we go.
So
anyway, I was talking about how boring Natalya is and what a bad wrestler she is.
All I heard in the baby's room was like, bitch.
Yeah.
That's all I heard.
But anyway, after the match, she throws a big temper tantrum, starts kicking the ropes, and takes, they start setting up the Kevin Owens show set around her, and she takes all the stuff and throws it out of the ring. And I'm like, oh, this is the one thing that could save Natalya.
It's the perfect.
She's
acting like herself. If
they get a big crybaby weirdo, I don't actually know if that's how she is in real life. I have no clue.
Well, on Total Divas she is.
On Total Divas she is, but that's not even reality. That's the opposite of reality. So I was like, oh my God, they're giving her the Christian 2002 gimmick, and now all we need is Positively Paige to come out, DDP to come out and save her. That would be great. I could totally get with that. DDP doing yoga with Natty, and then she's farting during the yoga. It's just gonna be like a big conglomeration of or amalgamation of all of her bad gimmicks together, and it's gonna be great.
Oh, I love it.
Natalya farting while doing yoga and chilling out.
And calling everybody
they're calling everybody a bitch. Yeah, that's the downward dog, bitch. Yeah. I was like, okie doke. This could be good.
This temper tantrum thing could really work.
This temper tantrum thing could definitely work out for her. Another promo, Kevin Owens show. He's back for the first time since WrestleMania 36, where he got injured surprisingly after jumping off a sign 25 feet in the air. He got injured. Wow. So he brings out Andrade, Angel Garza, Austin Theory, and Zelina Vega. They come out to the ring. Owens goes to the apron. Vega says that, oh, everybody's trying to say that my empire is crumbling over one argument, but we're strong. We survived the streets. It's like Rosita. I'm sorry. Zelina Vega did not come from the streets. Come on. She's from Jamaica, New York. She's not from the streets, though. Come on, please. It's like they've never at any point in that gimmick said that they were ever on the streets. I'm like, or at the very least, maybe I can believe that in Jamaica, Queens, like, yeah, maybe you could be from the streets a little bit there, I guess, if you really, really want to make that argument and make pretend that actually happened with her. But Austin Theory, no chance that guy was ever on the streets. No chance. He wouldn't survive. The guy probably can't even walk on a sidewalk.
Oh my. Oh, he can't.
There's nothing.
Sidewalk.
No way.
Oh my God. Honestly, I lost all interest at this point because
it's too soon to break them up. But it made
Yes.
sense. I have to say, this is where things
Why?
started making a turnaround.
Why?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
As we go on, because eventually they kick Austin Theory out. So Apollo Crews returns out of nowhere. His knee was so bad that he couldn't be in Money in the Bank last week, but now he's totally fine to come back.
Smiles.
It's like Mr. Smiles is back. Kevin Owens, Apollo Crews defeat Andrade and Angel Garza after Austin Theory tried to. Did I say I said Andrade and Angel Garza, right? I think
Yes, you did. Yeah.
After Austin Theory botched some interference, Crews hits Garza with a toss powerbomb, gets the win. After that, they all Andrade, Zelina Vega, and Angel Garza destroy Austin Theory, kick him out of their group. She said, oh, you're useless, and I never should have believed you. Slapped him in the face. They throw him into some chairs, and they walk off. Austin Theory is out of that group. Now, I thought it was a little too soon to disband them, and I thought, okay, well, there's really no purpose for Austin Theory anymore because he was really called up as a replacement for WrestleMania because Andrade got the rib injury,
right,
and I was like,
I'm
okay, well, they're going to
listening.
send him back to NXT for some seasoning, I guess. But they did something a little better, and honestly, like, I guess if you're going to do this thing with Seth Rollins where he's this messiah with these infectious words, it's like you have to kind of have him have more disciples than just Murphy. He did have AOP, but they're gone. I think it was I forget, Razor tore his bicep or something. And AOP's gone, so they're out totally for like the next 9 months. You need to have new disciples. Murphy faces Aleister Black. Obviously, Aleister Black is getting the better of Murphy because Murphy already fought in a match.
Right.
Makes no
Again,
sense.
That disadvantage.
But Austin Theory was still out there. I was like, oh, they're putting Austin Theory with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins shakes his hand, helps him up, and tells him to get in the ring. He beats up Aleister Black. Aleister Black wins by DQ. Austin Theory is a member now of Seth. He's a disciple of Seth Rollins.
Right, so
I thought that
guess-
was much better
okay.
than having him lost in this tagged or stable with Andrade and Angel Garza. He could do way better, I think, in this gimmick or in
So
this
you
stable
find
here.
him better in this with being
As
a
disciple, yeah, because he's not going to be utilized all the time. Like he's not going to have a match every week. It's like
Also, too, because
and
of how strong. I mean, I think he's a good hand in the ring. I really do. So, do you find him not as strong as Andrade and Angel Garza?
it just didn't feel like a good mix to me. Like like I'm not saying that it needs to be all Mexican wrestlers in that stable, but
No, I
like
know.
he
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
yeah.
so far removed from like their personalities.
Okay.
It just didn't mesh well.
So this is something that you would.
This is
the route that you would have
I would put him as a disciple. It could be better.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the only way you can save Humberto Carrillo is to put him with Andrade and Angel Garza because
that's
Andrade,
what I was
Carrillo and Garza are cousins anyway.
Well, that's what I was thinking, though. And I'm almost a little confused as to why they haven't done that yet. Maybe they will now. Oh, I don't know. I mean, like, maybe they won't, though, because of the losing streak. Like, what purpose does he really act, or benefit does he have by going with them at this point? Because he hasn't done anything on his own. But that's what I initially thought would have happened, adding Creo to that stable. But I guess I know what you're saying. I found it was a little too soon. I didn't necessarily think that he should stay there, but I think it was just a little too soon to like kick him out, though.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily know that. I mean, thinking about it, yes, Seth Rollins does need more people, obviously, for his disciples and stuff. But I didn't know necessarily if Austin Theory would be the guy to do it. But I guess it may work. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. It's not the worst idea that they've had with Seth Rollins' stable so far.
Right.
Although they did kind of have like Murphy like watching in the background. I couldn't tell. I honestly couldn't tell if he was like jealous or if he was just like staring intently. But I'm like, well, now if they're going to get Murphy out of the stable, this is going to be stupid. Like, we got to keep people with Rollins. He's got to have the disciples. Like, if they're going for the full Jesus thing, he should have 12 disciples, but that's too many for social distancing.
I said for 12. Well, they didn't do that for Viking Raiders and the Street Profits.
True, but I don't even think
so.
they have 12 guys that are being underutilized right now that could be in the thing. I think they fired like half of those guys.
Why not me? Why can't Ricochet be part of it?
Oh, God. Well, I'm glad. I was so happy they didn't have a Ricochet Cedric Alexander match this week. I was like, oh, God, I can't stand seeing them doing. I mean, because it's a tag team is going absolutely fucking nowhere. It's like, why am I watching this? They're going nowhere. They're two faces. They're going to face the Street Profits. Oh, that's going to be great.
I think besides Murphy, I think he should just have other like 11 disciples that just can't speak. Like they really just don't talk.
Yeah,
they're just there for show.
They're just quiet. Yeah, you should have guys like druids, like for the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Street Profits whiff on a bunch of axe throws. The Viking Raiders dominate them bullseye after bullseye after bullseye. This was actually pretty funny. A cop car pulls up with an axe in the windshield thrown by one of the Street Profits. And the cop gets out of the car and is like, "Who did this? Who did this?" And and they're like, "Oh, they did." It's like everybody's blaming one another. And she goes, "Well, the only way we could tell is if somebody throws an axe and wildly misses." So Dawkins takes it and throws the axe and hits a bullseye. So no one is indicted on the charge.
Yeah.
And the police officer actually lets them off because she thinks that Ivar is cute, but Eric is ugly. And the Street Profits are just like, "Oh, damn." It was actually pretty funny. I mean, like, I was kind of watching. I was like, "Oh, this is dumb. And then when they started doing all that stuff, I actually like when they were whiffing and their reactions, I did laugh.
I thought it was better than
was
the basketball
laughing.
thing.
It was way better than the basketball thing.
I thought this was funnier. And I think because obviously you don't really see, I mean, they have it as like a thing that you could do, the axe throwing. They do have places where you can go and actually do it. But obviously you don't see that in your everyday life. Like, you can't just go down the street and go to the park and be like, "Oh, hey, look, let's go axe throwing today, Mike." Like,
and the police officer goes, "Do you know how dangerous it is to be throwing axes?" And I'm like, "Do you know how dangerous it is to not be socially distancing right now?" It's like, honestly, she's all concerned about the axes.
They really should have just done that.
I mean, could you imagine could you imagine going back to the police station though with a fucking axe in your windshield and the chief of police walks up to you and is like, "What the hell happened here?" And it's like, "Well, these guys were having an axe throwing contest, but I let them off because one of them's really cute." Fired! You are fired! It's like, come on now.
I love it.
Main event, King Corbin versus Drew McIntyre. King Corbin from SmackDown. One of the 4 times this year they're going to allow somebody to come over to SmackDown. I mean, from SmackDown to come over to Raw, unless somehow it works for ratings or they get really desperate, and then that number 4 will just disappear. Like, remember the wild card rule? And that was just like, unlimited people can come over.
Do I remember the wild card
They changed it in the first night.
Do I remember the wild card rule?
It's just like everything. It's just like all hands on deck. We are desperate right now.
I think they've solved the problem for their ratings tonight, though. Getting King Corbin was the key.
I really did like this match.
I did like the match.
It was absurd.
And you know what? I gotta be honest with you. The one thing I like about Corbin is that he is so obnoxious.
He's such a dick.
It's so believable. Like when he was doing that whole thing with the referee and then that other guy, like that guy in the suit beforehand, talking about how like his food and then he wants his own locker, like he wants his own room set up for him and everything like that. I thought that was pretty funny. It honestly, like I said, he is such asshole that it's just like I find it to be so believable. I do enjoy that aspect of it. And he's immensely improved in the ring. He has.
Oh, he's actually a lot of fun right now. I gotta say, we always talk about his cutoff spots. His cutoff spots are great. Anyway, before the match, Bobby Lashley and MVP walk out on the stage. They are pretty much a tandem now.
Yeah.
MVP's the manager, and I've been talking about how great that could be for Bobby Lashley.
I think it's working already.
It is.
So slowly but surely.
McIntyre and Corbin have their great match. I really thought as I was watching this, and Corbin kept cutting him off on the finishing sequences, and I was like, "Oh, they're gonna do a DQ here." I go, "What a waste of a freaking invitation!" But they are doing a great job keeping McIntyre looking strong. They had him kick out at one on a superplex. They had him kick out at one on the out and in clothesline from Corbin. I love that gimmick. And to keep him strong, screw the DQ. Have him beat him straight up clean. You don't want him looking weak at any point. So it's not like Lashley's going to come in and attack him. Yeah. They're going to keep McIntyre looking strong the entire time.
They have
to. It's working out big time. It is working out big time for me.
Who's having the heavy hand in the decision makings with him?
I would have to imagine it's Paul Heyman and Vince. I have to imagine.
So because Vince is so invested in him and like that okay.
Well, everybody thought that like Roman Reigns was like really Vince McMahon's last opportunity to make like a huge star, like in his career, like that one Hulk Hogan star. It's like, well, if you play your cards right, Drew McIntyre could be that guy.
I think
Drew
McIntyre has a lot.
I think Roman Reigns in totality has been a success, obviously, but it started so badly for him that he never really truly recovered. They kind of really pushed it, too hard and too fast, and it was too much too soon, and the fans turned on him, and it never really recovered for him. But no. Drew McIntyre, I hardly see anything online about people saying like, "Oh, fuck Drew McIntyre, he's being shoved down our throats. This sucks."
I gotta be honest, I don't think I've seen one person say that.
I haven't seen anything negative about Drew McIntyre. I haven't seen anything negative
about him at all.
I have to do some searching. I'm sure there will be some
I'm
stuff
sure there's
that's
like
negative.
one out of like 10,000 people, but
yeah. So, he's great. That's just all I got to say about that.
He is.
After the match, Drew McIntyre says to Bobby Lashley, like, "I've been waiting for you to step up. It's time. I've been waiting a long time for you to step up." So it looks like Backlash. It's going to be Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. I think that's going to be actually a very, very good match, and finally like a good use of Bobby Lashley on this show. So that concludes Monday Night Raw. What does everybody in the chat room give it? Do you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down? You can't give it thumbs in the middle. It has to be thumbs up or thumbs down. Currently, the Twitter poll says 44% thumbs up, 56% thumbs down. My dear wife, Victoria, what do you give the May 18th edition of Monday Night Raw?
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Okay.
Even though there was like the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders were hilarious, I
actually thought
too many promos.
Way too many promos. I actually thought the third hour was really good. I thought this was like the best third hour that I've seen in a long time on Raw. But it was those first 2 hours were painful to get through. Absolutely painful.
I don't know how you did it tonight. I really don't.
It was miserable. It was actually miserable. I got to give it a thumbs down, but it's a tepid thumbs down because that third hour was really good, but not good enough to save the show. I'm curious to see what everybody thinks in the chat room. Let's see. Thumbs down from Andrew Elder. Andrew Elder's the first one to jump on that. Victoria's buddy. Thumbs down from Quentin. Way, way, way down from Billy. Wow. Billy, way, way down.
I have to agree with you.
I know. Billy and I suffered through this Raw tonight. Mashoon Walls, thumbs down.
I agree with you, Mashoon.
We are in agreement.
I have to say.
Thumbs down, thumbs up for the show. What do you say?
Me?
No, I'm asking still for the chat room.
Oh, I was like, I gave you thumbs down.
No, I know. I know what you did. I think it's going to be like the general consensus is it's a thumbs down.
I think it's a thumbs down for overall.
Quint Walters gives the Raw recap a thumbs up. We appreciate that.
Yes,
appreciate that, my friend. We enjoy doing these shows. Now, for next week's show, I don't think we're going to be doing a show next week. It's Memorial Day. We're going to be not here. So we will be back the week after that. Which is...
I don't know.
I don't know either. It's going to be June 1st. June 1st. Feast day of Justin the Martyr.
I can't believe it.
I know. It'll be June the next time we're back, and God, will that be great. That will be great. This school year's almost over. It's time.
So long.
Distance learning is going to be finally near an end for us.
My gosh.
I love my students, but I'm like ready to just call this distance learning this year.
No, you know what it is? I just feel bad for everybody.
I feel terrible for the students.
For teachers, for students. It's really a lot on everyone.
I know, and it's and like distance learning at this point, it's like kind of depressing. So it's almost like I just end the school year. Like I love the kids that I had this year, but it's like it's even for them. It's just like let's just move on to the next thing.
I love my class. I really do. I think they're so sweet, my kids, and they really enjoyed seeing me come back, even though it's virtually, but it's not the same. It's just not the same.
No, of course not. Of course not. And, I'm still worried about what September's going to look like. I don't think we're going to be back either for that. I think it'll be more distance learning, but we'll see. Andrew Elder's Raw tape next week. They're taping Raw that day. They're going to have all those people there for Memorial Day. So, yeah, it's going to be another taping just like they had last week. Monday is going to be Raw and SmackDown. Tuesday will be the Raw and SmackDown for the week after that, which would be the Raw that we come back for.
Right.
And then the 2 episodes of NXT as well. And then that'll put them in line, I believe, for Backlash, or they'll come back and tape on the 10th, and the show after Backlash, I guess. I don't know. But I think that's how it shakes out.
How are they doing though with the pay-per-views? Are they doing some stuff ahead of time, like even before the Raws are taped?
Well, they did the Money in the Bank ahead of time. That was taped in April.
Okay, so they have been doing, but everything.
Well, the cinematic matches. No,
Well, those have to be.
The Money in the Bank portion that was at the Performance Center, that was actually live.
Okay,
that was actually live.
That's what I thought for those. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the Money in the Bank match that was at the headquarters, that was taped obviously because it was a cinematic match. That was taped in April.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm going to try to look it up real quick. Talk for me for a second here.
No. So well. I don't know.
I just want to make sure that I have this all right.
Oh, with the tapings, you mean?
Yeah. So it says Monday, May 25th, 2 episodes of Raw will be taped. One for that night, the other one for June 1st. 2 episodes of SmackDown will be taped on Tuesday, May 26th. Although I think they have it backwards. I think it's going to be Monday and Tuesday will be Raw and SmackDown together to save the cruise.
Yeah.
2 episodes of NXT. Yeah. So Monday, June 8th, 1 episode of Raw taped for that evening and another episode of SmackDown taped for that evening. Tuesday, June 9th will be 1 episode of NXT taped for June 10th.
Okay.
So then Monday, June 15th. So I guess because they're going to be there for the pay-per-view and they want it to be live, then they'll tape, another episode of Raw and SmackDown for that evening, another episode of Raw and SmackDown the day after.
Okay.
It's going to be a long week for them. So they'll be away from their families all that time. So it's tough. It's tough to be a wrestler right now. And John Oliver definitely called them out for it last night on last week tonight for running shows during quarantine. But they got to do what they got to do. I mean, they still have contracts to answer for, and the fact is there is no union for wrestling, so they can kind of have them do what they want. So that's all there is to it.
And different states do have different regulations. I hate to say it, but they do.
And Andrew Elder says In Your House is before Backlash. Yes, it definitely is. It's definitely before Backlash. I believe that is June 7th, actually. Yeah, that's June 7th. So that's the week before Backlash. So NXT TakeOver In Your House is June 7th. So yeah, they have a heck of a taping schedule coming up.
We'll see what happens.
But we'll be there. We'll be back June 1st. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. We'll make a big deal about Post Raw 83, I promise. Until then, I am Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
I am Victoria Tedesco.
Have a great week. Have a great Memorial Day, and we'll see you when we get back.
Bye.
Bye.